Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the complexity of life, struggling to balance your inner desires with societal expectations? Today, we're diving deep into an ancient philosophy that illuminates this very struggle. Imagine yourself facing a dilemma where your personal values conflict with your responsibilities. This exact situation is what many of us encounter regularly, making us question our choices and paths. This wisdom has stood the test of time, guiding countless individuals through life's complexities. I've spent years studying and applying these teachings, witnessing transformative results. By the end of our journey today, you'll gain a profound understanding of how to balance action and inaction, duty and personal growth, leading to a more harmonious and fulfilling life. According to Sânkhya philosophy, which is a very old way of thinking, nature has three forces named Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Think of them as balance, action, and stillness. Tamas is like being inactive or lazy, Rajas is being active and energetic, and Sattva is a mix of both. Everyone has these three forces inside them. Sometimes we feel lazy and don't want to do anything. That's Tamas. Other times we are super active and full of energy. That's Rajas. And sometimes we feel just right, balance between being lazy and active. That's Sattva. This happens in people, animals, and even plants. Karma yoga is a way of living that helps us understand these forces and use them in our lives. In different places around the world, people think about right and wrong in different ways. What's okay in one place might be wrong in another. This also applies to what we should do, our duties. It changes based on where we are and what's happening around us. For example, some wise people say we shouldn't fight against bad things, which means being peaceful is the best. But if everyone did that, bad people might take over. So while being peaceful is great, sometimes we need to stand up against bad things. It's important to know when to be peaceful and when to act. In a famous story called the Bhagavad Gita, a warrior named Arjuna doesn't want to fight because he has to fight against his own family. Krishna, a wise teacher, tells him that sometimes fighting for what's right is important, even if it's hard. Karma yoga teaches us that the best way to live is by not fighting, but understanding that sometimes we have to. It's like learning when to be peaceful and when to stand up for ourselves and others. There's a story about a man who didn't want to learn anything new and just lived without doing much. Someone told him that even telling a small lie was better than doing nothing at all. The idea is that it's better to be active and learn from it, rather than just being lazy. Being active means we're facing our problems and dealing with them. When we overcome these problems, we find peace. It's easy to say we should love everyone and not fight, but it's harder to do in real life. Sometimes we have to stand up for what's right. Every person should find their own goal and try to achieve it. Everyone is different, and what's right for one person might not be right for another. Like how an apple tree is different from an oak tree, each person has their own way of living. We shouldn't judge everyone by the same rules. Instead, we should help everyone be the best they can be based on their own goals and dreams. In the Hindu way of life, there are different roles like being a student, a householder, and a person who gives up everything for religion. Each of these roles has its own duties, and none is better than the other. For example, a householder has to take care of his family, work honestly, and be kind to others. He should not be greedy or dishonest. The householder's role is very important. He supports others like the poor and his family. He should work hard for knowledge and wealth, but not just for himself. He should use what he earns to help others. The idea is that everyone, no matter what they do, is important. We should not be afraid of what others think and should do our duties without worrying about praise or criticism. Every role, whether working in the world or giving it up for God, is valuable. This way of living teaches us to be strong, to not be afraid, and to do our best in whatever role we have in life. Each person is great in their own way. This thought I will illustrate by a story. A king used to ask every holy man called a sannyasi who visited his country a question. Who is greater, someone who gives up everything and becomes a sannyasi, or someone who stays in the world and does his duties? Many wise men tried to answer, but they couldn't prove their points. The king then told them to get married and live as householders. One day, a young sannyasi came and the king asked him the same question. He said both are great in their own way and offered to prove it. The king agreed to go with him to learn more. They traveled far and reached a kingdom where a big ceremony was happening. It was a special day when the princess was choosing a husband. She would pick any man she liked by throwing a garland of flowers over him. The princess wasn't happy with anyone she saw. Then a handsome young sannyasi appeared. When the princess saw him, she threw her garland over him. But the young man didn't want to marry. He threw the garland away, saying he was a holy man and marriage wasn't for him. The princess really wanted to marry him and followed him when he left. The king and the first sannyasi followed them from a distance. The young sannyasi led them into a forest and disappeared. The princess got lost and started crying. Then the king and the first sannyasi comforted her, saying they would help her in the morning. Under a big tree, they all rested. A little bird family lived in that tree. The bird father saw the guests and wanted to help. He brought firewood for them. Then he felt sad that he had no food to offer, so he sacrificed himself by jumping into the fire. His wife and their 3 baby birds did the same, one after another. The next morning, the king and the first sannyasi showed the princess the way back. The sannyasi then explained to the king, "You see, king, everyone is great in their own way. If you want to live in the world, be ready to help others like those brave little birds. If you want to leave everything behind, be like the young sannyasi who didn't care about marrying a princess or becoming a king. If you choose to be a householder, live to help others. And if you choose to be a sannyasi, don't care about beauty or power. Each person is great in what they choose to do, but they must do it well."